Hello, everybody. Welcome to Erothian Unofficial Spoiler Podcast, the recap edition. My name is Van Sexel, or Jonathan, whatever you like to call me, and I am joined, as always, by.
Slinger Steve here again, and welcome to the podcast. This one's going to be a bit longer, and this one's also going to be a recap of Session 1, Kingmaker, Session 0, Session 1, and Session 2. We're also joined by.
Hello. You guys might know me as AbusiveSnaga. Those probably play with me on tabletop would know me as Joey. And others guys might know me as the Fire God. But yeah, I'm here. And heads up, I'm not a Rayrin apologist. So yeah, I mean, why apologize doing something that's should have been done in the first place? Yeah, that's my belief. Don't apologize. Own up to it. Own up all that evil shit. So yeah.
So, one of the reasons we asked Snaga to join us is because he has a vast knowledge of Aurorum, and he has a very good memory when it comes to Aurorum, as far as I know. And also, we can get a few more opinions in the podcast this way.
We can always use another mind for these sort of things. So I believe that leaves us with the starting of campaign, the Session Zeros. If you'd like to take it away.
So yeah, all of us basically watched basically a few episodes. We watched for Kingmaker. I believe we watched some of us watched Session 0, some watched Session 1 and 2. So I believe we all split up. I majority watched the Session 0s. So I guess we should begin with, I believe Neil's was the first one, right? It was Ray.
Yeah, that's the first one.
So yeah, when we start off with our soon-to-be Dark Overlord of Aurorum, long praise his name, Rayrin Corvain. Praise be, first of his name, yes. We have, essentially, it basically starts off with Rayrin and his fellow multi-soldiers captured by Perendel soldiers and are traveling across Adir. We have Jaden, I think her last name is Adari, I believe.
Yep.
That's current, yes.
Yes, basically a strong soldier. Basically, I think she's like the strongest soldier there, and apparently is honestly the most interesting one. The reasons that we know in the future. We have Harveen, which is kind of reminds me of Arvine, which I'm curious if Neil did that on purpose.
I think he did. Yeah, I think it's pretty clear he did.
Well, actually, according to Daelric, Neil didn't name these characters. He did.
Well,
so
we can blame Daelric then.
I think there was some influence.
I feel like naming him after Arvine is the reason why what happens to him later happens.
Exactly.
So yeah. So he's basically the scaredy cat of the squad. I wouldn't say he's bullied to do stuff, but he's kind of like, you know, that friend that basically is like, this is a terrible idea. Why are we doing this? But still does it because like he's your friend. He's that guy. He doesn't like Rayrin and Uldren's antics, and which brings us to Uldren, who is basically, as we can tell, Rayrin's best bud, and he's the mischievous one. I guess you could say like the rogue of the party.
Yeah.
I
would have loved to see this guy be played out a little bit more.
Oh
But
yeah, dude. He reminds me of Yondis and a bit of Dwayne.
A little bit more cocky than Yondis, but definitely.
Yeah, that's where the Dwayne comes in. We also have basically they've been captured by two technically three Perendel soldiers, Jill and Razor. Apparently, what I conclude before is that they were having R&R after all. They were doing something dumb, or I could be wrong, but basically they were ambushed by Perendel soldiers, by slavers, and these guys were captured. There were originally 3 slavers, but one basically was heavily injured, and basically Jill and Razor told him like, "Hey, dude, you're done. You can't make this trick. Just walk away." And he had a long, injured walk away to a different session that we'll see later.
Quick
So,
question though.
yeah.
Do we ever find out what the hell Raven and crew were doing that got them caught?
I don't remember exactly.
I think this comes up in session 1 where they were like, we're going to do something, so we're just going to go the other side of the wall and have some fun, and went to go walk back, and that's when they were caught.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So they weren't really deserting. It was just like they
They're
did
just
something
being
bit
stupid.
like insubordinate, but not treasonous, and they were caught by Parendel slavers. And so apparently, why they're on Parendel? Why they went through a deer? Why didn't they go stay within the Parendel country like they could have? The reason why they were traversing through a deer is to avoid a certain province called Jovincia, if I remember correctly, and it's governed by Prince Jovan of Jovancia.
Haven Yovans,
Yeah, Haven.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which
basically
I've also been watching Daelric play on Ollie's channel before.
Yeah.
Which he had a character like that. I think that's probably where the reference comes from.
Yeah, probably, but I'm pretty sure this dude's a lot smarter, concerning the laws he did. Also, interesting, like, this dude has been mentioned a lot during this session zeros, but then I think even recently in TK.
There's definitely an opportunity for him to show up in TK.
Yeah, we know a bit about this character, not too much, but like a name to be remembered in the future, including the province. Essentially, Jovancia, which is different from Parendel, has different inclame laws, where they don't really, how would I say it? It's not where we conquer your own slave, we put you wherever we want you to do your whole inclame indentured servitude stuff. It's a bit different because they're in background lore, because I'm here and I'm very familiar with it. They're in war with a very hardcore slave nation called Yovans, and if you watch TK, you might be familiar with that group, and they are way worse. They have way worse slavery laws than all of Parendel, even though Parendel is the largest slave nation. So there's a reason why they have certain slave laws. It's more to appeal to the locals, and so
also Haven used to be a local, so
was he?
He's also personally biased. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was the case.
Okay, like I don't remember that.
He's a Medahina that.
Oh, he was a Medahina, yeah, but that's not inclame. Like, whatever. Like that, there's a lot of stuff. But anyway, so it's basically Jovancia is, I guess, the very progressive, you could say, Parendel province, and where it's like, if you do not submit papers that this person is a slave within 2 hours, if it's anything's out of order, then that person's a free man. Like despite like no ands, if, or buts. It's like you're a free person. You do what you want. Like, we don't care anymore. They won't get citizenship, like full citizenship, but it's not like, as far as I know, they won't kick you out of the nation or whatever. You're just free to do whatever fuck you want. Oh, by the way, am I allowed to curse here sometimes? Just sorry.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
everyone listening is pretty much an adult. So.
Yeah. Okay.
It's not like we're doing it every single other word. So.
I mean, to be fair, not Neil. He's not really much of an adult. He's more like a 5-year-old that whines when he doesn't get what he wants. But anyway,
I think it's fair to say that me and Vance are both older than him, so I think we can get away with
that. Anyway, it's weird without me saying that because I'm like 22, and I'm pretty sure he's way older than me. But yeah,
he's not way older than you. He's
not way older than me, but I'm pretty sure he's like he is more than 5 years.
No, because I'm 26. I'm 4 years ahead of you, and he's younger than me.
Okay, then he's a boy.
Yes, Vance, you are the oldest.
Okay, Neil's a boy. Hashtag Neil's a boy. Okay, anyway, so Jovance is not very friendly to slavery, and even if it's inclame, and especially they crack down hard on illegal slavery, which is why, and apparently these slavers aren't supposed to gather slaves, because what Parendel does is when they conquer a region, then they enslave it. They don't go to other regions outside their outside conquered lands and then take slaves. That's considered illegal. That's not how they do their inclame process.
Right.
Which
So
leads to how they ended up in a deer.
yeah, they ended the deer. So to avoid all the entire mess of trying to avoid the laws, Indir is used as a bypass away from Yovancia. Anyway, while Rayron is pissing in the woods, he basically comes across well, he basically comes across like some sort of mole craftsman architecture thing, like a rock. While the guards were kind of like letting him do your own business, and he was able to notice that because Neil fucking rolls ridiculous always. I believe he rolled like what 3 nat 20s in like his first 6 rolls of
Yeah.
session 0.
So for people who don't know, this is what Daelric is always referring to as Neil's luck and Neil's curse on everyone else in the party. You will see that in the future session zeros.
He is literally a luck vampire. Plain short. But yeah, so basically he figured out like what it is, the importance of it, and kind of got the ire of I believe it was Jill, who was like this sadistic whip girl, and basically he was able to walk away mostly fine, I believe. I think he got whipped once, but basically like he kind of like the information about the mole ruins being close by here and the significance of that. But yeah. Anyway, they basically one thing they figured out during their time there, and they know they're approaching. They'll be approaching like open fields to when they cross. Eventually, we'll have to cross the Parendel border again. They noticed that one of the soldiers kind of leaves, and basically kind of like has I believe it was a messaging coin. I believe he had on him where he basically like he can like send a message, flip the coin, and turns into a sparrow, and then goes off. Am I correct?
Yeah, that's
They
what
call messenger tokens, yeah.
Yeah, I believe if I was correctly, we saw that again in the very future. I think one of Orsugo's men did that. If I'm correct. But yeah.
Yeah, go and the Kingmaker group.
Yeah.
They all do that.
Yeah, I think they end up taking it off someone that they caught from Kingmaker's side.
I think they straight up killed him. But I think yeah.
Yeah, and they took that off the person. But yeah,
True.
They did get a lot from these guys.
So yeah.
Kingmaker got a lot of those tokens.
So they noticed that, and basically they believe that. So basically, Rayron, Jaden, and well, actually, technically, it was just Rayron and Jaden Rayron and Harvey. No, fuck, I'm getting the names wrong because a lot of them.
Aldrin.
Yeah, Aldrin. I'm sorry. Aldrin's forgettable. Is the most forgettable of these three. But yeah, basically, Aldrin and Rayron basically came up with the idea.
If you rearrange Aldrin's letters, I'm sure you can somehow get Leroy Jenkins.
Yeah. Anyway. Aldrin and Rayron basically came up with the idea of when this person's like far off, that's when they ambush the ambush Jill. The only problem is like they're bound and that she has weapons that could straight up kill all of them.
Yeah.
Jaden was more was kind of like okay, sure. Was kind of like just piggyback on the idea, and Harveen was I have my notes. Harveen's an ass.
Very unhelpful. Yeah, that's fair to say.
Yeah. So basically, Neil, which Neil basically goes up to distract Jill, which Neil's awesome in RP. I gotta say this because this was actually pretty smart because he used the knowledge of I know this the importance of this rock and that you're gonna give us a lot of gold and you don't know it and like kind of like distract her. And
yeah, but even before that, it's like you see Rayron take command of his group, and even though I guess at first it doesn't seem to be a hierarchy, but then when the plan is when they all agree to go with the plan, you see Rayron take command.
Yeah,
and I guess you start to see that later on in the Kingmaker stuff, but he's like the strategist.
Yeah,
of the group.
I don't. Yeah, he's definitely the strategist. I don't know if this has to do with him with his noble background or military house background. I'm not sure if he was some sort of leader before, or the moment he became a deer, he started taking more and more leadership role.
Yeah.
It could be one of those two.
Don't have a window back that far, unfortunately.
We don't. Yeah, it'll be interesting to know which one that, like, since coming to this land, it kind of taught him how to be a leader on his own. But yeah, so they tried to ambush Jill. It somewhat succeeded. Um, basically Jill straight up, I think just need Uldren in the face, and I think like basically killing him, because like it was like a crit success, and then basically Jaden managed to basically start strangling her from behind, and then Neil was able to grab Jill's whip and basically kind of like trip her to fall down. So that went well, and then the other guy came in, started coming. Harveen did nothing, and then I believe I forgot, this was the best crit failure of I think of all the Aurorum campaigns, like in Neil's session 0. So basically, while Jaden was basically like choking out the slaver woman Jill.
All right, that one.
Yeah, like so, like Jill was basically like panicking, so she took out her short sword and started cutting the rope, which was like both Scott and Neil was like, "Well, that's fucking desperate and dangerous." So they were able to cut the rope, and then like Jaden was like fucking horrified because he's like, "Oh fuck, I'm about to get killed," and like Jill's just smiling over her, and then blood started seeping down Jill's throat. And then, like, she just realized, I just fucking slit my own throat with a natural 1.
She fatality'd herself.
Yes. That's all. And also, she had, like, what, a -7? Because she was being choked out and was on the ground. So, like, it was, like, what, a -6? She technically rolled a -6. Yeah. So, it was that bad. So, the best natural 1 situation in... If not all of the Aurorum campaigns, in just the Kingmaker campaign, because like I forgot about that, and that was a gem. I love that.
Yeah.
Who needs ropes when you can do it yourself, right?
Yeah. And then Rayrin basically, like, while that was happening, basically went over to grab the crossbow that was behind by Jill, and basically was aiming at Razor, who was returning back. He was sprinting. He was like what, over 100 feet away, and basically Razor, seeing this coming, took out a scroll and basically cast, like, what was it? I forgot what the spell. Basically nullified like arrow strikes. Basically like non-magical arrows. Protection from arrows. So basically non-magical arrows cannot hurt him. And basically, like, he was very confident in that. But something that the slavers didn't know was that Rayron was mage.
Mage is Turkish.
Basically, specifically a Gish, which is basically for a Malta specialized, basically magical units that basically enchant their weapons to do devastating effects. Right. So basically, what Neil did was that I'm just going to basically just enchant the crossbow to do magical damage, and just start shooting this guy like 100 feet away, and then just took him down with ease. And then by the time the battle settled, Rain basically kind of looked around, noticed that Uldren's dead, Jaden a bit dazed but mostly fine, and Harveen gone with one the pack of supplies, and I think he took a sword or something. But yeah, so Harveen's an ass.
But and it was pretty much Harveen's fault that that Razor even came back, because he was extremely loud and like, "You guys failed. You didn't kill her on the first strike."
Yeah. It was
And he distracted him and brought him in so he could be taken up. Would be ambushed by them? He's secretly the hero in the whole thing. Come on, guys.
I'm glad. But don't worry, Harveen gets his comeuppance. He gets slumps. Because then we transition to Grishka's or One's session 0. And One's session 0 is very interesting map. Actually, pretty interesting if you consider one now, and then one from the past.
Yeah, it is definitely.
I'm like, it could be that Jake was still trying to feel out this character, but basically, one of the I'll get to there. Like why find one very different from session 0 compared to all of his other iterations, but one, I believe he was in Pirandale, and I think specifically he was in Jovancia. If I'm
He was in Lvov, which leads me to believe that he was in Bard or Vala.
It could be Bard.
It was definitely. It wasn't south. It was definitely more west.
Okay, but yeah. So he was there, just traveling there, just living his free life, because for Inquisitors, they're not bogged down to listen to a church of their faith. They're not required to. They're choose. I'll just follow my own path. And he was just traveling through Parendel, just living his life until he caught news of a friend that's in danger, who he believes probably got captured by slavers. He was basically, what I have here is he was looking for an old Daelish human named Wilhelm, and I put notes in bold, not Wilhelm from Vigil, because there is an old human guy named Wilhelm that's in Vigil. I just want to make it clear, not related. And when that character was made, I didn't like. There was no connection. No connection. Yeah. Like that whole this whole there's no connection to it. So yeah.
Yeah, I was talking to Steve, and I was like, "So who is Wilhelm again?" Because one never mentions this guy ever again.
I think that's just a case of he gave up.
Yeah,
that the trail was too cold.
Yeah, the trail was too cold, and
by the start of Kingmaker, it was too cold.
And plus, it was a rumor, so he wasn't known for sure. He just it could have been him, so that's why he came to investigate. But essentially, because I remember Jake mentioned this when he first met Wilhelm from Vigil, because he had a very similar description, and he asked Scott point blank, "Is this the Wilhelm that I was looking for in my session 0?" And Scott was like, "Oh no!" Like, because it was like that character was easily forgotten.
Yeah,
Wilhelm must be one of the most recurring names.
There's only 2. No, Laszlo. I'll say Laszlo, but
there's the one from Vigil. There's the guy that was originally looking for it, and the guy that got confused for season 1.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's 2.
3.
Where's the third? What's the third one?
Got confused from somewhere else in season 1. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
But I could be wrong.
Oh, did he? Yeah,
I don't remember that. So, some information about one. Apparently, he's from the new nation of Kajinxi. Like originally, that's where, like, I guess, like the Order of Broken Chains, like around there, if not in the Barren Lands. But I'm pretty sure they're from Kajinxi, if memory serves me right. Oh. But yeah, basically, he came from Kajinxi, traveled a lot, and essentially, like, looking for his friend with the few information he had, and eventually met a Perrin soldier, which he basically was able to deduce that this person was a slaver and had slaves with him. He was just incredibly injured. And
where have we seen that guy before?
Yeah. Well, to be fair, we didn't see him in Rare in Session 0.
Oh no, he was
just talked about, and he was like incredibly injured, just wandering, and like he was like, "Hey, dude, tell me where the slaves are." And he's like, "You could kill me, so sure." Which I'm surprised that Grisha didn't straight up kill him, because I know, because at first I thought you'd be like, "You're a slaver, yeah, I'm not gonna let you continue your work." Whack. Like, yeah. that would have been a very expected thing from, like, we thought what Grisha would have done before, but it could have been that he wouldn't be much of a fight. It wouldn't be like I'm pretty sure that might have been on his mind, that like he was injured. He doesn't have slaves on him. Like, there's no point in just killing him for just murder. 2 would have straight up fucking killed the dude and just strung his organs.
Absolutely.
But I think that's the only logic that I can think why Grishka would not have. By the way, if I say Grishka and 1 interchangeably, forgive me. Is like there's a transition that the character goes through, so we still sometimes refer to him as 1. But
Yeah, we're season 5, and we've been calling
Yeah.
him Grishka for like at
I
least.
I prefer calling him
seasons.
Grishka because of the whole phenomenal transformation he went in the future. But yeah, so he doesn't.
I mean, it does make it a lot easier to distinguish between all the other ones out
Yeah.
there. Just saying.
Yeah, so basically, Grishka kind of like let this dude live and just leave after threatening him and basically whatever. Yeah, he basically goes out and basically kind of investigate where he was told these slavers were, and basically found the few dead bodies. He found the slavers' dead bodies, and he found Aldrin in the basically grave. Interesting thing, which
Yeah, grave digging. Totally, everyone appreciates that.
before I get there, interesting thing what Grishka finds in one the at one of the slavers in their like they had a smuggling boot, and he was able to find a hidden compartment. And do you guys know what that hidden compartment was, or what was in it?
Yeah, there were actually two of them.
Like
there were two of them. There was, one was a Ritz and one was a Val or something.
That writ is very important. It was a writ of 250 gold to Perindale's bank, but there's no bank in in Deer. But there is one in Han Gwen. Let's just say that's very foreshadowing, and I feel like the seeds of war started very appropriately to the session 0 of a follower of a god of war. I think that is very poetic. So I just found that very interesting. And then when
I should clarify that I meant grave robbing, not grave digging. So my apologies.
then Grishka basically came to investigate the grave, suspecting like, oh, it could be my friend, because he's all like, oh, human male, it could be him. Started looking through, and then I think that he got ambushed, and I'm pretty sure we figure out that it was Harveen that ambushed him, based off the description later. Yeah. But I think the reason why Harveen ambushed him because he just saw someone looting a bunch of corpses and it was disturbing the grave of someone I think he figured out was one of his friends. So he might have been like, ah, and then just panicked and just attacked Grishka.
Well, probably was just really pissed off that he was robbing the grave of his friend.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's pissed off, but also didn't know who this person was. So basically, they fought. Obviously, Jake won because Jake's the badass. All hail Jeebus. And then when he went to look at the body, it turns out that it was a slave, and basically we can deduce Harveen because he was the only escaped slave that left. And so I believe it kind of wraps up there. Yeah.
Wraps up with him following the tracks of where the other survivors of that little skirmish went to.
Oh, two things. I totally forgot. I forgot about this because it was, I guess, kind of like also foreshadowing. But when we were introduced to at least going back to Rayron's session 0, Scott like first talked about like how beautiful the sun was resting at the horizon, and then ironically the city that they founded in that specific spot is later called Sun's Rest.
Well, the beauty of the place is mentioned in all three.
Yeah, the beauty, but Scott basically mentioned like the sun itself at specifically in Raven Session 0. Like he described it all beautiful, like the beauty of a deer differently for each character. The sun resting in Rayron's Session 0, the freedom for Grishka's Session 0, and basically the I guess the peaceful quiet of the nature in Val's Session 0.
I would also add backwater because he was mentioning how
backwater. I had backwater, yeah.
It was.
Yeah. Also, oh, last thing before we move up to Val's is, where the fuck is Wilhelm?
That's a good
Literally, like, okay, this is like, Jake, if you're listening, I have this problem straight for you. Why the hell, like, I want to know, did Grishka just kind of give up his mission on looking for Wilhelm, or did he just feel like it's just a fool's errand, and he's probably not escaped? Like, I really want to know what Grishka thinks about that whole incident, because it sounded like instead of continuing the search, he kind of like, oh, I can find my own nation. Like, that probably is not the case. I just don't know. It's just, it has never been referred back to, that I just don't have context. So I'm like,
I think it was the case of that he knew that he had to be following that trail as quickly as he could because of how far away he was from it, and that if he got too far behind, it would get cold really quickly. And it
could be. Yeah.
I think he realized that it got too cold personally. But
could be.
it still would be interesting to find out what happened.
Yeah.
Because he might show up again if he was a slave in Peridot. If he's a slave somewhere else, probably not.
It would be hilarious if like he fought, if basically like, hey, basically like he meets Wilhelm, and basically like, hey, why you didn't find me? Well, I started finding I came to look for you, then I found my own nation. I was like, and then just peters off after that. But yeah, that's I'm pretty sure there's reasons why he kind of gave up the search, or probably files fruitless. But yeah, it was like, I still want to know what happened.
Petition for the next city that Jake specifically found in there to be called Wilhelm. Might as well start it here, right?
Yeah, Wilhelm. Like, that's his beacon of trying to find him. He's like, I'm looking for a Wilhelm. I'm gonna make a city, and make a big ass city just for like a beacon to look for him.
I mean, Wilhelm is a good city, so
I mean,
hopefully they do.
It also sounds very Skyrim-like, so
That's true.
Also, it might get confused with other Wilhelms. So, why did you name it after priests and vigils? Like, no, the other Wilhelm. Anyway, anyway, let's move on to Val's. I only have like half of Val's because I wasn't able to finish it up. But apparently you guys also saw this. Do you want me to like pick up what I have down and then like teeter it off to you, Vance?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so we have our boy, our number one angel guy, Val here. May you rest in peace. So Val is Perrin from Perindel, and apparently he's from more Coreland Perindel. And essentially, he came to Adir because of a vision he was given by his goddess. Well, she wasn't technically a goddess at the time, but the martyr. I believe she also had the name of Finney. I believe it was one of her.
Finney was one.
Yeah, yes. Basically, yeah. But she's more commonly known as the martyr, and who's very connected to Adir, who's been giving Val dreams. And Val, in his past, was a scribe, and he basically worked in the libraries, and I believe it was Peridot Capital, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, he was in the capital.
Yeah.
Straight out of the capital.
Yeah, and basically, long story short, he was kind of annoyed by how much censorship that the Perindel does about like the truths, about like basically like rewriting history the way their viewpoint, and so it kind of annoyed him. And then the martyr kind of came to him dream, and basically kind of like, if you want to look for, like, here's the truth, you want to know about the truth, come to Adir. And basically he's been following his dreams to Adir, and he basically has been like, as he traveled, Scott basically mentioned like how beautiful the landscape is, yada, the people is different. One major thing about Adir is, for people who have not been keeping KM, there is no leadership before Kingmaker. Before they started making their own kingdom and all, there is literally no leadership in Adir. Like, it's every city-state, even if you can want to refer them as cities, most of them are just more like towns, or just community
or villages.
Yeah, towns or villages. Yeah, or just community ran. There's like, they don't have a monarch or a figurehead. Like, not all of them even have guards. It's more like, if something happens, hopefully the community will band together and do something about it. but there's no central authority. And for reasons like that, we'll discover later in the next few sessions that Van and Steve have. But yeah, so it's very quiet place, not a lot of hustle and bustle. I guess. I guess a way to describe it, if I had to think about it, I think probably like what modern day nation in the real world would you guys compare a deer to be like?
Oh, dude, I have no idea. I don't think there is a modern day.
I'm talking about like more like a region, like for example, uh like I would basically East Russia, where it's like there were just patterns of villages, and like there's not a lot of people there, and there's not a lot of most of the government's focus would be somewhere else, obviously, but that's how I imagine a deer.
Yeah, to me, it's like the ideal state for like anarchist. Every time someone says they're an anarchist, this is probably like the ideal situation to think of because everybody's working
Yeah,
together in the community and there's no real like heads and no real leaders. So
yeah, that seems true. That does make sense. But because of that, there's not a lot of progress in a deer because there's
yep,
no central authority. It's literally like I believe they know as much magic compared to, I guess, the Barrowlands or Kajinxi, which is almost though it's none. It's like magic is very
Just depends where you look.
yeah, magic is very rare. There's only one bank that has ever that exists in a deer, and that's like in the capital where it's separated from the rest of the towns and regions. There is no formal military, yada yada yada. So it's yeah, I guess it's a very true anarchistic region. I think that's an excellent way to explain it. Um, and there's actually a question I want to ask you guys later, but I'm gonna hand but I want to
If
get
you're handing it over, you may as well ask the question now.
yeah, go ahead.
okay. So, quick question: do you guys think a deer was better before KM came to a deer, basically before the KM party came to a deer, or after? Or do you think it's just changed? It's
It depends on the region.
Yeah, I think certain
Bodgwen, Forvin, and Australia definitely got the raw end of the stick from
yeah.
KM turning up.
There's also like
Harrods, I'd say, kind of went for the better. Red definitely went for the better, besides the whole having to evacuate
you could
sort
argue
of thing. The Chev hasn't really changed, I would argue, and then we've got new towns popping up.
like
Vigil
free
definitely
folk
went down the shit.
would are better before, but still not I would say better
Baron probably
before.
better before, actually.
Yeah, considering how like what happened to them after the war. Yeah, I guess better before. Um, so Free Folk, Vigil, Ostrad, Hodgwen, Forvin. Guess Reed technically. Yeah, I'll put Reed in there. Um, it got bigger,
Reed's
but
actually
they
got
also got
bigger and
displaced.
stuff, and
True. I guess
they have been
Reed
put back.
just depends on
They've
your
been
outlook.
put back.
On their outlook. Honestly, they probably don't care.
They've had more development, and they're back in the home.
I don't know. We have been there recently, but yeah, I guess like 5 towns, and they're all of them are pretty decent sized towns. Kind of got affected negatively after decaying.
yeah, I think macro Adir is definitely affected negatively, but I think micro for some people it might have been positive. I mean, he kind of described people taking advantage of other people when they could. So kind of having some authority or somebody they can go to and be like, "Hey, this guy just ripped me off." It helps out a little bit, but a
Yeah,
lot of towns
like
have
war.
suffered
Yeah,
because of the
basically, yeah,
war and
basically
because of
war. Like
zombies.
you could argue that the curse probably kept Adir peaceful and safe, and that the removal of it.
Yeah,
Another rebounding energies of a broken curse is torn apart the land.
but I mean that could also be because of like years of being in such an anarchistic state. It's like after a while, everybody gets tired of fighting, and it's just like, hey
Yeah,
man, let's just like chill.
This would be an interesting argument. Is progress for the future prosperity of a deer worth it compared to the bloodshed that immediately would follow?
I mean, without the curse, I think bloodshed and destruction would have come to a deer earlier. I think the
Yeah,
curse is probably the only thing saving a deer because there could be no leadership. Other
because
than that, like Paradise was
Paradise
taking place
would never
over
have
years ago.
would never even be able to take any lands from it, as they're currently doing now. There wouldn't be war, but on the flip side, the KM are making a powerhouse nation, currently,
A
and
powerhouse
they're
city-state for the moment, and then
city-state.
with ideals for our nation.
I'm trying to appeal Tesh because he doesn't like the idea of their nation, quote unquote, being a being labeled as a city state.
I mean,
but yeah,
but it is.
When they have another big city, I'll consider it a nation.
It is. But yeah, it's just like it is the progress and prosperity worth the loss of peace, safety, peace and safety. So, but leaderless. It's like which one's better? Like I guess that's the question, because I feel like a deer wouldn't have a lot of its things that the party was able to provide it, but they've suffered so much on the way.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the road to progress, right? I mean, even in the row, we see that like people fight against progress, and it causes a lot of pains. But once you get over a certain hump, it's either good or bad, and we have to wait to the future to see it. So
yeah, I guess it really depends on like the end result, if their kingdom actually succeeds.
I agree.
To make it all worth it. It's just, I think a lot of other people who probably don't really agree with that are suffering because of it. So yeah.
We should probably bring back to Val though.
Yeah. Anyway, going back to Val. So I'm just going to mention the Val's dream, and I'm going to leave it off to you, Van. So basically, the dream that we first see in this is session 0 is basically an open field with what we later would learn is honeysuckle, which is very famous in Adir. It's like kind of like they're like that region is known for honeysuckle.
Yeah, I'm gonna let you finish the dream before I comment on that. So go ahead.
Yeah, and then it's followed by a mysterious figure in shadow, based in shadow, with a unique blade. And basically, it's like we basically assume that this is Rayrin, because what happens later. But then there's chains on this person, and then the chains fall down on Val. But then the dream gets disconnected somehow. I think it was either probably the person basically pounding on Val's door, or maybe another outside force.
He woke up before the pounding.
Oh yeah, he woke up before the pounding, so something disconnected him from his dream. And then, which would be interesting to know what that was. And then as the dream continued, once he basically went back to sleep, and then there was more to it. There's 3 corpses connected, and there was a gust of wind heading him to a certain direction. And I find that very interesting because like I have 2 ideas what those 3 corpses are, but it could be those dead bodies that in Rayrin Session 0, or it could be the Chosens, like basically more like a distant future. I don't know, like that's more of a stretch.
Yeah,
but
it's a fun stretch, but it is a stretch.
It's a fun stretch. It's a very fun stretch, which we don't know for sure. It could be like the all Trojans die eventually one by one, but they're all connected. It's the connection part that Scott basically mentioned that basically had me think that, because I'm like, technically, like the only thing connecting the 2 slavers and the and Aldrin, were that they died at relatively the same spot at the same time, but there wasn't much of a connection between all of them.
And then there's one not long afterwards, which
so So that's why I'm like, it could be the Chosens, or it could be the Undead Keep. Who knows? So yeah, I'll
take over.
basically I'll hand it up to you,
But
Vince.
before I do finish taking over, I want to say when I was taking notes for this episode, and we
Mm-hmm.
got the first glimpse of his dream, I was like, dude, oh, this makes sense. Val is a parent. Oh man,
Mm-hmm.
the honeysuckle, because as far as I can remember, because I completely forgot the session zeros, we were seeing honeysuckle be related directly to something we'll talk about in later episodes of Regicide, lopers. And I was like,
Yep.
dude,
Yeah.
Val is connected to the lopers in some way. This is so huge. Like
I
he
don't.
was planting the seed of of the lopers, and then dude, I was like over ecstatic when I pieced
I
the connections together, and then I typed it in chat.
And
Yeah, and then I
yeah.
typed it in chat, and go ahead. You can say what you said, Snaga.
I thought I forgot what was my reply when you typed it in the chat. But essentially, like, I think it was more like it's basically confirming that the lopers are connected to a deer, not that Val's connected to the
Right.
lopers.
Yeah. Because
So
yeah. Also, he mentioned it
I think me
in.
and I could talk about connections with honeysuckle, lopers, and parent, but I think we'll have to
Yeah.
save that for
Well,
a different.
because I watched Val's first, and I totally messed up there because it's not you have to watch them in the order, and I didn't. I completely forgot. So there is a specific order, and he does reference the honeysuckle being like a prevalent flower in a certain area of a deer. So once I got to that point, I was like, oh man, it's just Rayron. Like this dream has nothing to do with any of that cool stuff. It's just a dream about Rayron.
yeah, it's more a dream about Rayron, but the honeysuckle was definitely like a
And
seed
knowing
that
that
Scott
the
purposely
dad
put in.
cares this, he's gonna go, oh, so Val thinks he's a dreamy boy, eh?
Um, yeah, yeah. Also, we never see much about dreams after that. There hasn't been much,
Yeah,
if I remember correctly. Yeah, like Ilan hasn't have a dream. I would have suspected that because of Rayron's connection to a certain deity, he might have had dreams, given dreams too. But
I think
after once he figured that out, but
I
no.
think I prefer the more direct freedom of actually asking him rather than waiting for a dream.
I think the dream was one of two people, and the only reason I say two is because of what happens in. We'll get to it this episode actually, but um, I think it was just one of two people rather than the martyr. I think it might have been who they consider Momic later, also projecting that dream onto Val just to get Val, Rayron, and one together. But of course, it could have been just the obvious, like he was getting dreams from the martyr. So
Mhm. Yeah.
so moving on. One other piece of information that I totally forgot. Early in the episode, Daelric says that Perrin actually aren't that common in a deer, and he
Yeah.
says this by saying like Valrin was getting really strange look from certain people who recognized he was a Perrin rather than a human. It's like 5 seasons in this campaign. I'm like, yeah, Perrin are commonplace, but they're actually not according to this point. And I don't know if that.
That
Good.
continue.
No,
Sorry.
no, no. Go
No,
ahead. Go ahead. Go
continue.
ahead.
Oh, that makes sense because in the lore what we learned is that like the curse was meant to basically destroy basically to free the parent people, because apparently a deer is, if what I understand correctly, was where the parent originated from,
Mm-hmm.
if I remember
I mean,
correctly.
that's my understanding too.
Yeah, that's my
Yes,
understanding.
they were slaves to the mole, and the curse was meant to free the people, and the people just kind of left after that. Like they kind of just abandoned a deer and then just did their own thing after that. It was like so that's, I think that's why so many there wasn't very much Mary Parent, because they're like, we're fucking leaving this place because this was like hot. Like also they might have been like,
Also, they have a proclivity for like leadership and military and that sort of thing, which the curse actively suppresses, which would probably make it uncomfortable for them to stay.
yeah, they probably were aware of the curse. Like, I'm pretty sure the first parents that were free were aware of what the curse is compared to the other races, and was like, yeah, if we want to start our own civilization, we can't do it here. This was more like it was kind of like we scorched earth this area with a curse, and it was like, we know if we want to start our own civilization, our own way of life, we can't do it
Right.
here. I think that's why so many of them left. The only parents that technically this was way after this session 0 to be granted, that basically are seen there are basically like occasionally slavers, but basically slavers that basically come across, and usually from Parendel, and also I guess the majority of Perrin, I guess, would have been at Vigil, but because like it was like that place has 75%, and even then they don't talk about it, which I completely forgot.
It's usually the renegades in Paradise Society.
Yeah, basically like they'll meet basically like they'll either meet slavers or renegades because they're later in I think one of the sessions there is a renegade of Parendel soldiers in one of the forts.
Yeah.
So it's I'll say that's usually people they mostly encountered, and like you get to know that they're a parent, like because depending how young they are. So that
I was gonna say, and speaking about the parent being renegades, it's like in this town, the people of Adir, and we do learn that Adir does, even though there's no laws, people of Adir don't like slavery, but the people in actually this town that Val was in is Forvin.
Forvin.
And the people of Forvin seem kind of like like
it's not more like it's more like
find out the reason why they're here later on.
It's like, so you're looking for slaves. It's like it's kind of like they're in the DL.
Yeah, I mean, but it's like
not everyone, but
not everyone, but like a few interesting figures.
But he talked to at least 3 different people, and they were like, "Oh, yeah, you're a slaver, huh?" So I'm guessing the people from this town must make money off of slavers, because they like even the bartender, the guy Val ended up talking later on. He's like, "Oh, you're a slaver," and as long as they were giving them coin, they were like, "Cool, just give me the coin, and I don't care."
Which it kind of makes sense what happens to Forvin and why what's going on in Forvin happened.
Actually, I wanted to say something. Because we are talking about like this past stuff, we can't. I want to ask, and maybe Daelric will comment to us specifically on this. Do you guys want to bring up some of the Patreon sessions that connect directly to the story?
100%.
Yeah, okay.
I'd save those for when we come to a time period closer to that.
Yeah,
like,
definitely.
First time we came across that would have been in season 2, so bring that one up in season 2. Around the time when they find out Elliot's being kidnapped, and then the other one was
but nothing 4. Recent though.
Yeah, no.
Nothing
I'm
recent.
talking about in the timeline as we go through these recap episodes. Also, Daelric, if you're listening, if you don't want us to do that, tell us, and we won't do it. Yeah. So, because of Val's dream, Val is basically looking for a black blade. The blade was described as completely black, obsidian black almost, and Val goes start looking for those details. Just to get a gauge on who this person might be. So he goes to the bartender. The bartender does not give him any useful information. He does mention a blade of adamantine, which we have not seen adamantine in the in any of the games yet, but we have heard about it. But it's not as dark as this blade. Apparently, Raven's blade is darker than adamantine. And then, because he gets no information from there, he goes and he meets with a trapper because they survey the land. They have more information about the land. That was Val's thinking.
Oh, I remember this. Yeah.
So he goes and he talks to one of these trappers after finding out that the slavers use goat trails. And so he's going out there and he sees a guy who has a bunch of goat meat, and he's like, "Hey, I'm looking for certain trails, and basically they end up getting to the point. It takes a while though because this guy is kind of dense, but he gets to the point of, hey, I will. I need you to take me somewhere. Val basically gets hustled for a little bit. He gets hustled out of
I have to sell all
11.
the stock, to be fair.
Well, he gets.
You have to sell all the stock for cheap.
He's a city boy that basically is not street smart
I
at all.
mean, there was no way that man was gonna make as much money as Val was giving him, and he knows that. In fact, I think they did an inside check, and he was like, "You're not even making nowhere near the amount of money I'm offering you, so stop trying to hustle me and let's go." um, yeah, so he gets hustled for basically 11 gold, actually 6 out of pocket at the moment, and then
11 gold.
yeah,
Jesus
he
Christ.
offered. So
was,
in all,
it was 6 straight away, and then
yeah, it was
was
6 straight away.
before
But
going the end for coming back. Yeah.
yeah, so it was 1 gold for information, and then 5 extra gold to be taken on the trail. He also gave the bartender a gold piece. So Val was just basically like putting a target on his back, kind of like, hey, I got money.
Yeah. I think need to go back to 4 for people to make use of that target.
And then so the trail ends up taking about 2 days for Val to get to the field with Honeysuckle. And because of the dream, he recognizes the smell, he recognizes the direction of the wind, that the wind is blowing. And then they both notice they both noticed a plains cat, and it's stalking them, but they're like, we'll just keep an eye on it, try not to tick it off and try not to make sudden movements. And so they continue walking until the plains cat attacks. This is a fight sequence where unfortunately the trapper ends up dying. However, the trapper has a potion of enlarge. After getting mauled the first time, he's able to pull out a potion of enlarge, so he's able to do some good damage before dying, and Val finishes that cat off. But
multiple snowballs.
Yeah, I'm surprised at that.
It's always funny when you hear the name Snowball for a spell and find out that it's killed people and that sort of thing, because you just immediately think of snowballs. Like,
yeah, like that was his go-to spell. I was like, it sounds like a powerful spell. Like just looking at the damage, but like, imagine someone killing someone with snowballs just seems freaking hilarious. Like, what the fuck?
it just makes me chuckle every time, eh?
Yeah. It's like, does he put a rock in it if that's part of the spell?
That's what I was thinking. Maybe it's just a bunch of ice condensed around like snow, and it's like pop. Man. But I also wanted to say, like, during the session 0, because of the way that Val was fighting and the magic he was using, I honestly thought Val was going to be closer to like an ice sorcerer, the way that Elijah is now.
Elijah.
Yeah, I thought
Elijah's a wizard, not a sorcerer. Just to clarify.
I mean, yeah, he's Elijah's a wizard, but the way I'm just talking about the type of magic he uses. Like, he specializes in ice, and I thought Val would be closer to that, but we do end up seeing like different types of magic that Val uses. So, and then the last bit of information is there's 2 pieces. One, Valrin takes his money back. Of course, he's not leaving 6 gold on the ground.
He took it back, but we'll find out what happens to the next session.
I remember. It's like Tesh was giving him so much shit. It's like, oh yeah, if you, no, he wasn't giving too much shit. I think people were like, that's actually pretty smart, because it's like, oh, you always hired a guide to lead you to a place you know is going to be potentially dangerous. So when he dies, you just loot his corpse. Like, you have someone that could fight for you, be the front line, die, and then just take his money, and then perhaps repeat the process.
Yeah, Valin wasn't touched during that entire encounter. He was on full health.
Except for that little bit where he used his Master Bloodline to
that 1 damage.
Technically not full health, but he didn't take a hit.
Actually, the session ends with Valorant seeing a silhouette in the distance, and I believe that ends up being one, right?
No, it ends up being Raren.
Rayron. Okay, it is Rayron, and then that leads us into episode 1.
Episode 1, where everything goes to shit.
So we start off with Raren and Jaden walking up on Val, who's just buried the body of the poor unfortunate trapper. There's that whole little interchange between them where it's like, are you a saver? No. Who are you? Okay, you've got a crossbow pointed at me. They look, I'm not armed, I just have magic. See, look at these magic-y thingies. And then you have...
I'm not armed, I just have magic is
I know,
not the best
I know.
excuse.
I know. I was aware of it the entire time, but oh well.
I'm not armed. I just have a fireball ready to cast.
That's just how the thing. And then we have one who's overlooking from where he was investigating certain cairns and that sort of thing, following the trail, and comes up behind them and that sort of thing, and goes, "You know, I want to stealth up on Jaden, who's hanging back and trying to hide at the same time, like because it's primarily Rayron and Val talking to each other at this point, with Jaden waiting, trying to hide, and except that Val's looking at the right direction, and it's like, what are you doing? Is he with you? And he's like, Rayron turns around and goes, Jaden, run, and this is like, yeah, no, that natty one stealth really didn't work out that well before one.
Wait, is he with you? He's like, wait, what? That's hilarious.
Hey, at least one took the crossbow's direction away from Val, so Val can very much appreciate that natty one. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
At least it's a better group introduction than what Regicide had.
We'll have to come into that when we come into.
Yeah, let's hold off on that.
Yeah.
No, I will say I like to take session zeros for that one.
Tyler, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So then there was the whole discussion of, hang on, what the hell are you doing in those cairns up there? What the hell are you doing in those graves? Oh, I just had to check to make sure it wasn't the person. Maybe you shouldn't be interfering in the graves, my friend.
Yeah.
And then
Quick question, Steve. Did one ever said that he killed Harvey or killed someone who looked similar to Harvey?
No, I don't think he did.
Oh, fuck.
I think there's talk about him fighting someone up there, but he never described them as Harvey.
Okay, that's interesting. So Raymond doesn't know what happened to Harvey.
Nope,
okay,
not at all.
Potentially. He could have watched the session series, and I think he did. But I don't think Rare knows.
No, I'm pretty sure Neil probably figured it out, but and he probably forgot. But I'm pretty sure Rayron doesn't know.
Yeah, as far as he knows, like Harvey ran away. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So then we went on to them having a very good cooking roll for butchering a plains cat, basically a mountain lion sort of thing. So 22 for cooking that. Huh. I can't imagine the taste personally. And then we had, after the meal and RP with each other, they got into, let's follow where the wind's taking us, because they said, yeah, we'll go with Val. I'm a little short for money, though, 5 gold. And then, so he gives Raven 5 gold. And then one's like, I'm also looking for money too. Okay, 5 gold to him. And then that night before they took off the thing, Jaden goes up to him and goes, I hear you're the guy with the gold. Val's like, fine, 5 more gold.
Out of nowhere, Ellen just approaches. Hey, I heard there's 5 gold here.
At least it was in 2, right now.
Don't worry, I'll collect from your corpse once you're dead.
So Val explains his dream to Rayon and 1, and they decide to go off in that direction with Val leading, except, well, let's just say this session had a lot of natty ones.
Neil's
So eventually they replaced Val's exploring expertise with one who significantly has a bit of survival, so they should end up going in the right direction. They ended up crossing a cave, crossing into a cave where there was all these old goblin skeletons and skeletons of 4 adventurers. I don't know anything about those ones. Literally, I don't. It was just they found a lot of useful supplies in there. So things like braces that are braces. Oh, gee, my voice cracked. Braces which one took for increasing his defense on top of his armor. Yeah, I think Scott really would regret that later on. I remember. I think was it in yeah, I think it was in 1 session 0 where it's like, oh, I thought I was going to hit you with I thought I was close to hitting you with 18. Oh shit, you got a 23.
Yeah, I think it was 22 because it showed up as 22 in episode 2. Yeah, it was a 22 AC level 1.
Yeah. So increasing one's AC is probably a dumb idea on Scott's part because he already has it massively. So they found the cave, found all sorts of supplies, potions, scrolls, those braces. Don't remember if there was anything else. This was back when we still had the item rolls, but we all see where that happens when later on when 2 parties get access to
I can tell you one thing that they didn't get was a potion of spider climb.
Probably could have used that, yeah. Then they have a case of after I think they were still in the cave when this happened. It was they hear strange noises, and so when they go to investigate, they find very, very torn apart remains of a stag that with all these canine-like paw prints around outside.
Mm-hmm.
So there might be wolves. No, there isn't. Wait till we see a freaking couple of other sessions. And then they eventually find the key in the valley, where we're all pretty familiar with now, I think. Good on empty key. And this session has a fun little, a half session of
this is hilarious.
Getting open the very first door.
Yeah. Was it half the session though?
Oh, right.
This just bloody well seemed like it at least
it was until the end of that session.
It was between half and a third of the session of just getting the door open. And then there was another door behind us.
Yeah.
They used acid splash spells. They used that acid from that they found out was in the boot of one's heel of those smuggler's boots. They used ice spells to try and make it more brittle. They used they broke a dart trying to unlock the thing. They eventually had to bash it down.
Steve, you know what was their problem? They didn't have a Durat. For those who don't know, that was one of Steve's Patreon characters.
Very first.
Who's just like, yeah, who's like the best thief that no one can find.
Not necessarily the best at unlocking things, as we found in the thing, but
True.
But he would have had a better chance. I'll agree.
Let's just say if you ever try to find him, you can't find him. Grishka would have trouble finding him, and that's something.
Also to bring up with this one is Raven's sudden turn of luck from his session 0 where he's had all those natty 20s and all the natty ones trying to open the door. He broke the dart. He missed with his acid splashes so badly with natty ones.
Season 1 and 2, like he rolled like a lot of nat ones, and then eventually he just started sucking all the luck back.
There's definitely at least something like once every 5 sessions he has an episode where it's
oh wait, he made a deal with the devil. That's what happened. That's how he got his luck. He made a deal with the devil. Yeah.
And I believe that's the entirety of session 1. Because they still had the other door to unlock in session 2.
So Vance, I believe you covered session 2?
Yeah, I did. So session 2 starts off with 25 minutes of them still trying to get the door open.
Oh God! I'm trying to remember. What other party had trouble opening stuff like opening doors and such? I thought didn't Regicide or TK had similar issues?
I don't think it was over an hour trying to open a door.
No, I do, but like something I don't know. Yeah, no, I can't think of any other party. I mean. Yeah,
this is.
I think Kingmaker had another instance of having trouble with the door, and I think Regicide had an instance of opening a door as well. But it was later on.
I think they just blew open a door as their solution.
No, yeah, Kingmaker does have a trouble with a door, but it's not an hour's worth of trouble. I think it's probably like 15 minutes. It's one.
Oh, and then they did. Oh fuck! I just realized that, like, this is actually pretty common because remember when Grishka was going through the bank and was been trying to open up the door, but he had
That's
no
it.
keys,
Mhm.
so he just went down, just bursting down the
Kingmaker is
doors.
bad with doors, so if you ever need to stop them, just put a large door in their way.
They've had the most villains, but the villains haven't had nowhere near as much impact as the doors.
If anyone wants to go for a $100 tier on Patreon, the best villain you can throw at Kingmaker is a door. Just a door. Just
or someone who magically makes doors. Yeah.
tell Scott. Tell him, hey, I want to make this impossible door that they cannot open. That is very complex, and just put it in whatever place you want to secure whatever secret that you know Kingmaker wants to go through but can't.
Put that in the wheel.
There's a problem why they can't open up Hodwin's vault.
Yeah,
Because there's a door.
Yep.
Oh, locked doors, the bane of our existence.
Meanwhile, Regicide has someone that basically just opens up doors with just by spell after spell after spell.
He does run after those.
He does run after those, but it's more efficient and very useful.
Man, at least they got their doors open.
They can do 1 second of what takes KM an hour. Kingmaker is a TK of doors. I said it.
Oh, you're gonna make me funny and very angry with them.
I don't give a fuck. I'm not apologist. Own up to it.
Yeah, so after they finally get the door open, Val and One are standing the closest. Raven is using a silver mirror. I think the silver mirror belongs to Val. So Raven's using the silver mirror to get the, to position it so that One can see inside the door to be able to sift it. Valorant has fairy fire going. Is it fairy fire or fairy lights? I forget.
Dancing lights.
Dancing lights. There you go.
Dancing lights? Dancing lights is the just lighting up the
That's
area.
the one where you can send the orbs out.
Yeah, it's dancing lights.
Yeah, so Val has dancing lights going. He's concentrating on dancing lights and moving the lights around so that Grishka can see. And they do end up seeing one trap, which helps them to unlock the door. And that is a large spinning wheel. So what they do is they use... Grishka has manacles that he grabbed from in his session 1. He picked up off the bodies.
Session 0.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, session 0. He picks up those manacles off the bodies, and they end up using the Planescat meat along with the manacles to attach it to the bladed spinning wheel, and that way they can unlock the door. As soon as they unlock the door and open it, One decides, hey, I'm gonna rush straight into it because we've been sitting at this door for about an hour out of game time. And he rushes through, and him and Val both get hit with a rusted spirit trap that was hitting above the door. This, of course, like any other party that would get hit by these traps, makes the entire party cautious, and they move much more slowly. Also, this is the episode where I feel as though One cements his place as the perceptive one in the group, because the number of nat 20s and high rolls that he gets on sifting and perceiving traps and basically perceiving everything. They don't even roll perception anymore. It's like, hey, yeah, can we just help One on his perception checks? So I feel as though he cements his place there. Because even in the future, we see him. He's a very perceptive, wise person, and I feel like maybe this session helped push One towards that direction. So
I can definitely see that.
Yeah. So as they're going through the keep, there is this huge major trap. This trap ends up leading to future problems, but let me just describe the trap, because I also have here in my notes, this is like the keep that we've seen with the most traps ever. Like, I don't think any of the other keeps have.
I mean, true. I mean, I feel like Scott.
We didn't encounter any in the devil keep.
would you consider the Temple of Doom be one big trap?
Yeah, but is that a keep?
Yeah.
Can they
Yeah,
teleport?
there's a little debate on that one because there's no teleportation.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't look for one.
Well, I'm talking about like the keeps that they can lay claim to, like with and teleport to.
They
Those are
should theoretically
Yeah.
teleport to all keeps if they have a banner in a specific room. Yes.
Yeah.
But that specific room has the map.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has to have
It's
a
the
map.
map room.
Yeah, it has to be the map room.
Which, when we were shown the layout of
We
the thing,
we didn't look because remember because we
I'm talking about out of game. I'm talking about out of game with that one.
out of game.
Because he showed us the layout of the thing afterwards.
We're talking about the Temple of Doom, right?
Yep.
To be fair, but we only explore the temple version. Remember, there was also a keep version that we didn't explore.
No one's been in the keep version.
Yeah, we haven't really explored the keep version.
Okay.
So yeah.
Well,
so
as far as we've seen, though, this is the most amount of traps.
this is the most traps, but I feel like that's something that more Scott was like, oh, these are gonna be they're gonna be level 1 characters. I'm not gonna throw all mobs at them. I'm just gonna throw some traps at them at first and see how they react, and then throw some interesting mobs later.
Yeah.
I mean, level 1s against all the undead that were there, yeah, that probably seems a little bit harsh.
The undead were locked behind a door, but yeah.
Yeah.
So Snug and Steve, maybe you guys ended up exploring this
Yes.
keep as well.
Yeah, we did.
The traps reset.
They did
When
not
you
reset. We were explained about the
That trap says. Wait. No, you should bring up. We'll wait till you bring up all the traps, and then because they broke the big one you're about to talk about.
Oh, right.
The other one we didn't really go through, and there's another one where it basically stayed.
I believe there's one trap where there's one trap where it's like it's kind of like a false floor, not a false floor, but it's like a pit and there's spikes. Classic. There's like it's pretty classic. And then there's the Indiana Jones boulder falling down basically a steep hill trap.
Yep, that's the big trap of this episode.
Yeah, that one was like that could TPK the party. I'm pretty sure Scott would have been okay with that.
So
except that this session's when they first brought in chat interaction.
Yeah, fun fact. I was just about to say that. This episode starts chat interaction a whole episode earlier than everybody else's. So, Neil, Jake, Tesh, if you want to ever bring that up to Scott. Talk about how unfair it was.
Yeah.
You could do that.
Yeah.
But
everyone else had it easy.
Yeah, they didn't have to do it on their trap episode, so they didn't have to deal with a bunch of curses. Actually, so during the major ball a la Indiana Jones trap, Valen was the first one to figure out what it was. So once they figured it out, they tried to safely go up the stairs, not knowing where the triggering plate was. Raven, of course, triggered the plate, and we see the very first curse. Well, actually, there might have been a curse before, and Daelric just didn't say. But as far as he announced, this is the very first curse. Raven gets cursed and knocks the whole party on their ass, and they slide down to the gate that prevents them from being able to leave.
Yeah.
Just to help with the description of the thing, the stairs all change so it's a ramp that the boulder can go down.
Yeah, the stairs change to a large, basically slide.
And it goes down and then up with this momentum to reset back into place.
Yeah.
That's ideally how it works.
And so this trap is what I feel really brought the party together, because it's a life or death situation. They're all working for the same cause, and it's like, we need to work together or else we're all going to die. And I think this trap helps the brotherhood. It also helps the players as well, get a little bit, think a little bit more out of the box. And one of the things like that happens is once they fall down to the gate, they're all like trying to break open the gate. Well, let me go back. So once they figure out that this trap exists, right? They find holes and a large gate, which they figure out is supposed to lock them into that area so that the large boulder can basically crush them. So they intelligently take a I forgot what it's called.
Take
It's like
10?
They took candles. They took coins.
And
tried to fill in
it's for rock climbing. What is it called again?
Pikes or
pistons.
pistons.
Pythons.
Yeah,
Pythons.
Titans. That's the word they read. And one of the funny things is about this episode is all episode one is just mentioning how little Jaden is doing, because and at first I was like, oh, he's flirting, because later on we learn that one has a harem. So
I don't think that was
taking
flirting.
He starts developing.
Persian, this was straight up Jake just being like, God, this NPC's useless. She's
Yeah.
just here to die, and we
That's
all
exactly
know it. That was what I was thinking.
that. There was multiple times in the episode where I was like, where I completely forgot Jaden existed, and I feel like Daelric forgot Jaden existed until Jake brought her up, and he was like, "Oh yeah, well, she's scared." So
Just to throw it back to the Mass Effect one, where Rick actually manages to keep his NPCs alive, unlike certain people.
so when they're trying to figure out how to break down the gate. So what the plan was, is they stopped the gate from setting in place, so they could break apart the bars. They I think they were trying to initially lift it, but the gate is so heavy it was impossible for them to lift it. I don't think they actually tried all three of them, but I think it probably would have only given them a +2, and Grisha couldn't lift it. Um, so what they ended up trying to do, once the boulder was down there, I think he gave them about 3 or 4 turns before like cementing that they need to do something and they're gonna die. So they started trying to bend the bars, break down the bars, and they were all kind of doing their own thing at first, and then they all started aiming at one specific bar. Once the bar broke, Raven, being the strategist, came up with the idea of, hey, I can make this bar magic by using my arcane is it arcane weapon? Is that the name of the skill? It, it it's it's basically one of his skills that he can pick up a weapon and infuse magic into it and make it a magical weapon for a certain amount of time as long as he's holding it. So he started to do that. Valrin picked up on what he was trying to do, and they both tried to wedge it into place, to wedge it so that the boulder would roll above their head and crash into the gate rather than crush them. Um, they couldn't really get it into place until Grishka decided to help out. And once again, Jaden did nothing. so,
And by the grace of fortune's favor, this one succeeded.
oh, it was a fortune favor?
It was?
Yeah, this was one of the first fortune's favors, I'm pretty sure.
This is before it was popping up on the screen like it does today. So
Yeah.
when fortune's favors happened, we didn't know unless you were paying attention in chat.
Oh yeah. I liked that. I liked how he changed it to make it like more visual, because I always thought it was kind of like, that's kind of bullshit that they didn't have to roll and then something happened. Because I didn't know fortune's favors and curse happened back then, because I was still confused about the concept, and I didn't know what daddy's word. Like whenever chat or Scott talked about it, I thought,
When
like,
they got introduced to everyone, I was hooked.
Yeah.
once I understood what it could be used for, I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then when by the time of Regicide, when they were like wrapping up their like tutorial session, like I think it was like their session 3, I believe. That's when I got hooked.
There's so many, just so many one-up me.
I can't wait for us to talk about Regicide Session Zeros. Like,
So
oh god, I have so much
going
to say.
back to Everon,
Like I said, I'm dibsing that one.
yeah, I was so heartbroken when my boy Luca died.
Wait.
because of,
Before we
trouble.
go, divs on that session, the one that I'm referring to, the one for the fire.
So and I did apologize to Steve multiple times, but I'll do it one more time. I shouldn't have put the blame on you for killing Luca.
I also put the blame on him killing Luca. I thought so, because like it makes
I saw Braylon do it, and I thought, brilliant, I'm going to do the next couple. Mr. Braylon.
Don't worry, Luca's been reborn. Anyway, yep.
Oh.
We should probably continue.
Yeah. So let me go back. I think the plan could have worked regardlessly, because magical weapons can be bent. They can't be damaged. So having the large boulder roll over on top of it was a pretty smart plan. That's why I honestly didn't know it was a fortune's favor, because sometimes you can just pick out when fortune favors happen. But I honestly didn't know it was a fortune's favor because it was like it was a pretty smart plan to have the thing roll.
They were going to get crushed if they were holding on
I
to
was
the
100% certain that that was meant to kill Jaden. Like Scott was like, I
think
have
it was meant
this
to kill more than that, but yeah.
that is pretty useless and like has no really need for this current narrative. I'm gonna find a way to kill her. Oh shit, the boulder didn't work. Well, here's another idea.
He does that successfully anyway. So after that point, they're all basically taking a moment to get their minds right, because they all just almost died, and everyone is recuperating, and we see for the first time, I think, one grabs his holy symbol and is praying and thanking Grishka for helping him and saving his life.
Totally.
Broga.
I mean, I'm sorry,
It was totally
Broga.
Broga. It was totally Broga that saved him.
Broga. I look. I started rambling for a second, but yes, it was Roga.
Praying to himself. Sorry, he's not Rayrick.
But actually, I started rambling because I was looking for a specific point where this is where Scott goes into describing Roga, and I guess if you've never watched the any of the sessions before because you were
joined in late, or
basically Vroga is the god of war, battle, strength, test of strength, might, chaos, and destruction. But he's not an evil, chaotic god. He's just like a chaotic neutral god, I believe.
He's more like just for the chaos, like, well, not just for the chaos, but just for the chaos of war. I would say it's not like for a good reason or bad reason. Just war being just the chaotic mess it is.
Mm-hmm. He's also the god of war for proving oneself and the god of liberation, and he's nicknamed the Breaker of Chains. Another point, Vroga has two names. He's Vroga Waruk. To most humans, he's depicted as a large, gruff man. Basically, you're a typical D&D barbarian. When you hear about this guy's a barbarian, probably the very first image you get in your head. He's got a bunch of wounds on him. He carries a battle axe. He's got a scary face on us all the time. But there's another depiction, and his name is just Vroga, and this one is worshipped mostly by the half orcs. And this is a description I really did not remember, and it's that this Vroga is smooth, clean, attractive man that doesn't participate in chaos but revels in it. I
think that's sort of work, that one.
Huh?
I think you got those two mixed up.
This is the one. This is exactly what he said.
Which one was it?
I don't really. During the episode.
I don't. Oh, he said during the episode. Okay.
Yeah, he said the half orcs, worship the Vroga, the one that's called just Vroga, where he's a smooth, clean, attractive man.
Well, not just half orcs too, but
yeah. Well, I think he was saying, just mostly half orcs, but he meant orcs as well. Where he's a smooth, clean, attractive man that doesn't participate in chaos but revels in it. And honestly, I thought it was switched around in my, like, for the longest time, it was switched around in my brain, and I couldn't remember with what Vroga Waruk looked like, but I remember. I couldn't remember what the regular Vroga looked like, but I remember Vroga Waruk, and I thought that one was akin to the for the half orcs to worship. But according to the description he gave in the episode, the clean, attractive one belongs to the half orcs and the orcs, which is really interesting. Actually,
it makes sense. I feel like they kind of sounds like because I feel like they
doesn't really.
I feel like they kind of make him like put him like as like he's the perfect ideal like thing for them, like, because I feel like they're more fanatical about Vroga in the orcs are, because they seem like they mentioned like he's more orc. He's an orc, not a human in their depiction, and I feel like they see him as like he's the perfect orc.
Yeah, he's not. I mean, he's clean. He's like, he doesn't have to deal with chaos because he's like I guess the god of war. He
Yeah,
can whoop your ass so badly he doesn't have to have battle
yeah,
scars on.
it makes sense to me. It's kind of like you can't like they can't like because our depictions of orcs is like scarred, ugly, whatever. Basically, Jake. But but
You've seen scars on Jake?
anyway,
Hey, don't talk about Jesus, okay?
I'm joking. I love you, Jake. Anyway, we have a love hate going on. It's mostly hate from his side, but yeah, a man can hope. Anyway, if he was like that classic iteration, I guess the closest we can probably compare to Vroga is Grumsh from Faerun. Be like as like the god of the orcs. Like Grumsh is like every way like you would imagine like an orc would be like.
Doesn't he have like a bunch of battle scars and like
Yeah,
stuff?
a bunch about like every way you imagine an orc would be. But I feel like like for Vroga, it's more like no, like we can't compare him to other orcs. Like yeah, he's an orc, but he's like I said, the perfect. He's the perfect version of us. There is he has no scars because he's that strong of a warrior that he can never get scars because he is war. He doesn't cause it because he's the center of. He's the eye of the storm of chaos, of war. So
I can see that.
That's why it makes sense in my mind why they would see it that way. It's an interesting take. It's like just
I
big, strong, angry barbarian god.
Just from what I've read, it seems more like someone switched it around.
Maybe Daelric did, but I made sure because I went back 3 or 4 times to make sure that I didn't get those two mixed up. But anyway,
he's more. Yeah, he's basically more for war, but I wouldn't say recently, but lately he's been a tribute to liberation because of other backstory that I don't think is relevant at this point, to be honest.
So getting back to the episode, at this point, Jaden is shaken up by the whole thing.
Pants.
Yeah, and one sees it. He tells Raywin to go talk to her, and they decide that she is going to stay down by the door that they came in.
Safe. She's gonna be safe there. No danger.
Yes.
At all.
Yes, she's supposed to be safe.
Nothing's bad's gonna happen. It is like they checked out the area is secure. There's no wildlife there that they should be concerned of. The door is secure.
You're giving it away.
Everything's great. What are you talking about? There's nothing to be concerned here. Scott's totally not going to use this opportunity to off an NPC that he doesn't want to deal with because that's totally within his nature.
Oh man. But actually I think that's the last trap that the party has to deal with before a certain event happens. But that's pretty much the last trap they have to deal with because they end up finding
the last trap they deal with was the spike pit.
Yeah. Well, they don't even have to deal with that initially because the Rayrin and Val, we figure out, can both speak Mole. And at the top of the steps, after they end up climbing the steps using rope and everything else they have, they end up finding this plaque that basically tells the entire anybody who can read Mole how to go around all the traps. So they take that approach, and they end up exploring, going into one of the rooms that has the large nest. Now, this is the point where Daelric will joke to Jake about one having a terrible nature check because he rolls a natty 1 and believes that this.
Oh fuck! I forgot about that. Yeah. You know, they find a big ass owl.
Actually,
that's what they found. That's it. We don't have to say what it really is. Let's just go through one's perspective. They found an owl. do not tell anyone about what it really was.
When they find it, right now they're just finding the large feathers, and it's a huge nest, massive nest, and they're like, yeah, we need to barricade that door so that thing, whatever that nest is, when that thing returns, we don't want to be its food, so we're gonna barricade the door up. They end up doing that, but only after they go out to the balcony and they decide to go search around. They end up finding more stuff for the party. It's a potion belt. It has 3 potions, 3 scrolls. What was inside is not really important, so I'll skip that. And then one, with his amazing perception, notices figures in the background heading toward the keep, which he tells Rayrin about, and Rayrin rushes down, setting off every single trap that they purposely went around. He sets off all the traps to try to get to what's her name, Jaden. Yeah. So he sets off all the traps, trying to get down to Jaden. He gets down to Jaden, and she's dead.
No, she's not there.
But she's not dead yet.
No, she's not dead.
Okay. So they, well, in this
Not dead.
episode, they don't confirm
Not
it.
dead yet.
Yeah, and this
She is,
episode,
she looked dead.
No, she
They
wasn't
took-
there. No,
Th-
this
th- she's
episode.
been stabbed, and
Well, no,
one of them took their
in,
body.
in the
Took
episode,
Jaden's body.
yeah, in the episode, you see
They took her away.
you see 4 figures. It's 1 hyena, 3 gnolls, and they are standing around something. So I presumed it was Jaden's body. He didn't really get the check because he was hiding behind the corner, and he was peeking to see what it was. So they might have moved it later, but I think actually one of the gnolls just took it out because there was only 2 gnolls and a hyena who
I'm
chased.
pretty
who chased
sure
after
it's explained next session.
it is.
What exactly happened?
Next session.
Yeah.
So after shooting a crossbow and missing, Rayrin rushes upstairs, and the hyena and the
Knowles?
the gnolls, yes, excuse me for forgetting everything, everybody. But Rayrin and the hyena and the gnolls chase after him. He triggers the stair trap, which, you know, after
Bowl
this
is
I
no
think
longer
is-
working, but it keeps them sliding.
the stairs do work, and he passes his check, but the hyena and the gnolls have to take a little bit more time climbing up the stairs, and he jumps over the trap, the spike trap that we were talking about because he triggered it. He ends up jumping over it just barely, and one and Val end up pulling him up, and then they have the gnolls and the hyena at disadvantage because they have to jump over to attack. So
Whereas
they start
Whereas
preparing.
somebody can shoot them or spell them.
Exactly. So they start preparing attacks.
Yep.
They all miss.
To be fair, like they picked characters that like I wouldn't say are effective low levels, but as they get stronger, they became more and more effective.
Oh, definitely. One of the
yeah,
things
like I would.
one of the things that Rayrin said while they were trying to deal with that the bars was that his character was not designed to fight inanimate objects, which is all they fought up to that point. And now they have to fight like living things. He could use acid splash and corrosive touch and all those other kind of things.
Yeah. Did we say what each of the parties classes are?
No.
We haven't, but
Okay.
two of them are still alive, and we know what those ones are. I guess we can say Val is.
So just
Val's the sorcerer.
yeah, basically quick summary.
Master-
Yeah, Val's a sorcerer. Rayrin is a magus, which is basically a gish. So just think of like a spell sword. And Grishka is an inquisitor, and so basically they don't have like a dedicated tank. Though Grishka does become more of a tankish character.
Yeah.
Inquisitor is not made to be. It's a very versatile class depending on how you want to make the character. But it's not a dedicated tank. Basically, and Rayrin's Gish soldier is basically more of a, I guess damage dealer would be right. But they don't have, more DPS. But none are dedicated, none are dedicated rogues like Yondis or dedicated tanks like Oscar.
Right.
So, yeah, just give you a mindset that they're versatile but not
You were
focused.
saying something before Vince. So.
Oh yeah, I was gonna ask if you guys had the descriptions. If you don't, I do, and we can get those at the end of the episode.
The descriptions?
Yeah, their descriptions.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. I'll just give to help people who want to picture them visually.
Just think them as young, ugly men.
What-
So basically, like their faces on camera, their actual faces on camera. So yeah.
Actually, it's not though.
It's
It's just
I know, but just
like that,
just to simplify it for people who don't care watching their show and just come here.
Yes, that totally happens.
God, well, I'm being such a dick to them because I feel no ramifications of them calling me out now.
they ended up killing one gnoll, and the hyena fell into the pit. So there was another
Yes.
gnoll who was at the door after they decided to retreat and barricade themselves into the room right next to the nest. It wasn't the room with the nest because they ended up trying to barricade that door as well, but it was the room right next to the nest. And then they try to take a long rest, and they find out how harsh Pathfinder is for level 1 characters.
Yeah.
You get
Yeah. Wait, did they discover Jaden's body was gone or no?
nope, not yet. They are
Oh fuck!
they are
Yeah, that makes
pitted
sense.
in the room, and they find out that you get 1 HP per level.
1
When
HP
you
plus your
rest.
Constitution modifier, yeah.
Nope, not plus
Yeah.
your Constitution modifier. Delric looked it up.
Alright,
It's
no,
only
it's
1
just
HP.
level. Just level, yeah.
Yeah, it's super harsh.
Yeah, Pathfinder is not kind. If you look, I think Pathfinder should be done kingdom building, or basically if it's like episodic, like how Scott does it in Kingmaker, or he does it in Patreon, where it's like it's not always back-to-back adventurers.
Yeah,
It's
I
like,
think that's how it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
But
I like it better than it's like, oh great, you finished this long arduous fight. Next day, oh, you got to do another fight. How much hit points do you get? Oh, only 5. So yeah, that's just harsh.
Pathfinder 2 is a lot more forgiving. You get way more HP when you first make your character, which some people may not like.
Dude, I really want to try Pathfinder 2
Yeah,
eventually.
I do as well. I ended up making multiple characters in it. It's kind of fun.
Come on, Scott, make a Pathfinder 2 campaign now. He's too busy. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't kill yourself. Don't kill yourself over this. I love you, Scott. Nah. Anyway,
So
yeah.
after that, they end up exploring the upstairs a little bit more, and they find a certain room after trying to deal with the door for another 2 to 3 minutes. They end up finding
who's
another
in this?
room that was honestly unlocked, and they thought was locked for a moment. So they were trying to do things to make the door unlocked, but then one just ended up twisting a knob, and it was open. And
And
I'll describe
who was
this
in that
room.
room?
This room is what is affectionately now known as their very first map room, where there is a large circular table with a realistic 3D map representation of a deer. It is
It's from the time period that was made, not the current time period.
yeah, he didn't describe it at that time because they didn't really investigate the table, but it is from the time period that the table was made. And also there is a cloaked figure with a very deep green colored cloak described as almost looking black, silver haired, old weathered, wrinkled skin, and using the wall and a cane to both support himself. And upon further inspection, we find out that this guy is a parent. And that is where the episode ends.
God, that guy's a dick. I'm sorry, but knowing what we know now, what an asshole. But anyway, yeah.
Oh man. It's not really that big of a deal after we described it, but during the episode I completely forgot that one can speak Dalish, and he can speak and read Dalish because that comes up. He
Makes sense.
yeah, he's
Some
trying to
reasons
read.
from.
Yeah,
That's because
he ended up trying
if
to
he knew
read.
Tajin from that side, I'd be a bit like.
Dalish is perhaps the most useless language compared to all the 3 campaigns because it's so isolated and far off that no one usually communicates. Like very few people come from there.
Yeah, but it makes sense that he knows it. Does one
It makes sense.
at this point in the series? Does one know the most amount of languages? He knows Perrin, Dalish, Orcish, and Necrol.
Probably that makes sense. Okay. Actually, probably no. I think. I think it was Rayron because he has the highest intelligence score. He knows Perrin, Tasian, Gnomish, Mole. That's 4.
I think it's just because he's human that he doesn't get another one. I think.
He doesn't get another one. Grishka knows Dalish, Orcish, Perrin, and Necrol, which is
Okay,
4.
so it's not the most. Okay, cool. Yeah, I keep forgetting 16 is like a language because he described it as being really close to Perrin, and it was like
yeah. What did Val know? He knew Perrin.
Mole.
He knew Mole. He knew Tasian.
I don't remember if he knew Tasian.
I don't remember. I don't remember all the languages he knew.
I don't think he
No,
ever
he
got a
had
chance to
pretty-
explore the ones that he knew.
Yeah, probably.
Oh, let it be known in this episode, Daelric said that Neil's cat was acting very cute, and it looked very cute this episode. So
I
the
clipped
next
it.
time he
Oh,
I clipped it. Clips. It's in his clips.
yeah. So we need to go.
I
back
think
and
that was.
listen to
To be fair, that was before Scott remembered his hatred for cats when he finally got one.
No, he
Again.
says I never said that. Right after he says it, he goes, "Wait, I never said that. I never said that." So he knew exactly what to say. We need to find that clip. Everybody who's listening, find that clip, save it to your whatever you need to save it, and every time you guys, I hate cats, make sure
Dude,
post that in.
that's a long scroll up. That's
Just
that's
go
like
to just go to his Twitch clips
that's
page
the
and grab it.
beginning of King. That's the beginning of Kingmaker. No one's gonna do that. Like after all the clips that no.
We have some dedicated people in the Discord, Snaga.
Yes, and Steve looking at all these clips is dedicated to looking at all these clips. There's a lot, and I feel like no. I mean, actually, probably you can't find the clip, but you can probably find it on the YouTube on Scott Daelic's YouTube.
Find it on his Twitch
page.
Twitch clips.
Yeah, Twitch clips, but that's gonna be like a deep delve dive. You might
Not
as well
really.
just go find it.
It's probably been watched a couple of times, so it's probably going to be towards the middle.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say in the middle.
I'm gonna listen.
This was like one of the first clips for Kingmaker. So
I'm gonna look for it, and after I post this episode up, I'm gonna post that clip. And when you get to this episode, you'll know why I posted it.
So yeah. So is that it? Just curious.
Yeah, that's it. Oh, another fun fact: Rayron bit a gnoll in the face. So
yeah,
he's not as clean as he would like.
Yeah. Before we close off, is there anything that you guys kind of want to talk about, like as an interesting point of it, as a point of interest?
Yeah. This season, and I did want to bring.
They haven't confirmed James dead.
Yeah, that's true. But this season is probably the most D&D-esque season of King.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, this is where they're still exploring. They're still adventuring and getting into situations. It shifts.
How
next episode, next season.
How I would explain it from like each season as they go on is that season 1 is their D&D adventuring season. Season 2 is the foundations of their nation. Season 3, I believe, that's the war. That's the war.
Season 4 is
that's straight up war.
After effects of the war.
Season 4 is After Effects and Undead Crisis. So I was kind of new season, which is season 5, is just politics.
This triple trump card still saying.
Dude, that triple trump that wasn't triple card, it was like 5 trump cards. Like that pissed me off. Like I was like, oh, undead, cool. I still hated it how much that derailed everything. I was like, it was an interesting plot point, but I was like I know, it was an interesting plot point, but I'm like, okay, so which season do you guys think is your favorite season out of all?
I honestly can't tell you. I really
I would say season 3, because that was like a lot of growth, a lot of change, a lot of things changed at season 3.
Yeah,
season 3 was very pivotal for so many people. Like a lot a lot of people die. Like a lot of like big name characters died, to put it simply, and a lot of relationships were made, destroyed, and yeah, it's very interesting.
Honestly, got to say season 2 for mine. It's there's a lot more of the feeling out, the getting the understanding of king making and that sort of kingdom building and that sort of thing. Felt I liked the most.
Yeah.
And then
I
there's
think
also other events in there that we had contributed to that I enjoyed at that time. So
season 1, I think, was my least interested season because I feel like the other season just surpassed.
Sorry, we're keeping it here to recap it. Then, jeez, I understand that we're making you suffer.
that means it gets better. That means it gets better. If the first one was the worst, that means it gets better.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean it started off as the worst. It doesn't mean it's absolute horseshit.
Well,
it means that
I know
that season 1 sets the bar, and they keep climbing up that bar.
yeah, and it's,
After that bar,
they're trying to find their footing for their characters. They're trying to learn.
Yeah,
what
totally.
characters are. So it's definitely going to be the worst, but it's definitely fun. It
was fun. They had their adventuring time, and then I feel like after each season they realized we can't be adventurers. We have to be more like kings. And I know they were like, well, actually, our titles are chosen. By the way, I hate when they say, "Tech, we're not kings, we're chosen." I mean, like, bitch, you act like kings. Like there's literally no difference at this point. Like, you're just honestly, like, there's no difference between you, like, how you act as a king and how you act like a just chosen. Especially Rayron, he acts more like a king than like an actual like I'm chosen by the god.
Yeah, he's definitely the one that's taking more the leadership. Like pros and maybe just leaving it a little bit to someone else.
Yeah, Rayron is someone who, why he was the chosen, that basically is the more strategic one, because he always thinks ahead and is basically always like one, he's more like, I'm always going to face the issue head on, like whatever, like basically he doesn't think of long term. He more thinks of what's in front of me, like the issue in front of me and how I'm going to solve it, and then the next step after that. Rayron always thinks long terms about his actions.
Yeah.
About and I think one is slowly learning that because he's not familiar with politics, but he's looking at Rayron to do more of that politics. Val is more. He's the idealistic.
Val's unfortunate with Tish not always being able to be there. So.
Yeah, not always being there, but like. I wouldn't say Val's the one that basically thinks that he thinks more ahead than Grishka, but it's more like he thinks of like I think he thinks of like the image of the nation.
The parties.
He was the only good character, yes, and
so naturally there's some more idealism there.
Yeah, he's more the idealist one, but there wasn't the strategist one. It's like he didn't bring a lot of solutions on the table like Rayron, but he was the one that was more concerned about about the goodly nature of the kingdom, of how it conducted itself, considering where he came from.
I can agree with that.
So yeah, it's interesting, and it's interesting to see how much they changed.
Yeah.
Rayron became more and more of a leader. Grisha became. Of course, Gorska had like this whole religious path that just was ups and downs. Like he became an extreme zealot, and then became more. I don't want to say tamed, but basically he came up with his own.
Yeah, he just down
path
a little bit.
Yeah, I like it sound like it sounded like he came up with his own path by the end of it. It's like he didn't follow the path of an extreme zealot. Which it sounded like he was going down. He basically chose his own way of how he is choosing to worship his god, instead of one that would have been laid down before him or would have been expected by others.
And I
He
can
had to
agree with
compound
that.
us a lot. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Val is, I think, like, is the most tragic and heartbreaking how that ends. Basically, how he started, what he wanted, and what happened at the end.
but I
Yeah.
guess we can leave that, but for another episode.
I
Yeah.
was about to say the same thing actually. Yeah, we'll see all these future events. You'll be able to see more of what Snaga's referring and how their characters grow a little bit more when
Yeah.
we get to those points. Right now, it's just they're just starting. We're
Yeah.
starting to see the very budding of a brotherly friendship. So
Mhm.
so thank you very much, everybody, for listening. Please let us know how this episode is. Please let us know how it sounds to you. And
Also, once
hopefully,
again, thanks to Daelric for making Aurora.
yeah. Um,
Yeah.
I wanted to some after notes. We next episode we are starting Regicide. So if you are caught up with Regicide, you really don't have to watch, but we do go into some discussion. So you may want to
Yeah.
listen.
I feel like we'll have a lot to discuss about Regicide's session zeros because
Oh yeah,
I think
I've been a
go-
lot.
it go- yeah, because I feel like they're a bit more hands on a lot.
Yeah,
And so yeah, and I think like they also went through a lot, and are completely different characters from what they were. Definitely Rena and Ophios.
Yep.
But yeah,
Yeah, especially
Um,
Ophios.
especially Ophios. Yes.
So first off, we want to thank all the players once again. We understand you guys are both trying to role play and entertain us, and that gets tough at times. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, know that our criticism is not us like critiquing your how you roleplay your characters. You guys roleplay your characters a phenomenal job in ways that we don't expect, and better than what we see most of the time. So just because we think, oh, they should, we might say we might say something like, oh, they should have done this, or they could have done
It's
that,
merely us
or why did
exploring
they
all
do
the other
this?
ways things could have
It's
gone.
yeah, yeah, it's more like afterthoughts, but it's more like talking about like you guys are basically like you guys are in the heads of those characters, which makes them better and better. So just because I remember like in the past, like they talk like people might critique them, they might have taken them the wrong way, but these characters are beloved because of them, and I don't I don't regret. Even though I might argue against some decisions they make, they're interesting decisions nevertheless, and I feel like they're always worthy to talk about.
yeah. And this is a very passionate community. So while we may say one thing, we wouldn't change you guys, even though Daelric acts like he would.
Yeah,
Sometimes.
yeah. We love Rayron being evil. We love Jake being a crazy zealot, and we love Ilan being the hippie he is.
Ilan and Val,
Never
both of
change.
them, yeah.
Well, that wasn't a hippie. He was a book nerd.
Like most of the people in this community. But
Yeah. Once again, guys, thank you very much. If you have any comments or anything, just we're all on Discord. Hit us up, talk to us.
have a good one, guys.
Bye.